Good morning. Welcome back. You're watching Daybreak on Citizen Television. Thank you for staying with us here on the broadcast. Before we proceed with the topic at hand, let's sample some of your feedback on the Twitter hashtag Daybreak at Citizen TV Kenya, at Ayub Abdikadir, and of course getting some of your responses as we proceed with the discussion here on set. Okello Mwalimu says no African president would like to be opposed by Raila. Moi and Kibaki couldn't cage him. Uhuru could not dismiss his influence, while Ruto won't succeed in crushing his political career. However, Kenyans are more concerned about the high cost of living. Engineer Lazaro says Raila Odinga is a statesman and the Africa Union Infrastructure Development Chairperson. The two power positions he holds contradict his planned parallel Jamhuri Day celebrations. Eddie _Onditi says, please ask the Langata MP, Felix, if in case the rally wasn't cancelled, he would have asked his constituents to ignore a state function and attend the Azimio rally, and how would that help Langata constituency? Bob Otieno Owino says cancellation of the Jamhuri parallel rally clearly shows Kenyans are tired with the rhetoric politics and want what affects them are addressed, and more so, the Azimio Kenya is disintegrating slowly. Agumba Steve says the Azimio coalition was right to call off the rally. It could have rendered the Jamhuri national celebration useless, as a majority would have opted for Jacaranda. Meanwhile, the opposition is doing its best to make the government in position be on toes, and we say kudos. Remy Butia says Kenya needs an effective opposition to check the government in power. The official opposition's constitutional role should be formalized with recognition of the leader of the opposition awarding them a salary. Well, a question for you, Honorable Jalango. And would in the event that the rally will continue as planned, would you invite your constituents to the Jacaranda rally or to the Nyayo National Stadium, which is in your constituency, for the national event?
I would have gone to Jacaranda.
Why?
Because I am a member of Azimio. And a call from the party leader is a call from our top leadership. That's where I would have been. And Langata overwhelmingly voted for Raila. And I know most of them would have wanted to go to be at Jacaranda to listen to the leader they voted for.
Okay. Yes. Yes, Abdullah, you had a point before we went on a break. Yes,
yeah, we were just discussing offset that parliamentarians go to parliament to manage CDF and not to represent. and it is arguably so, because like it is a place where my friends will call that when a member of parliament is sorted with CDF management, that is close to
30, 20 million?
30,
depending.
It's different.
Roughly just 100 million.
100 million.
147 million.
147, but because of the recurrent expenditure, other stuff, let's say Mandela North gets around 70 for development. That's education, environment, and security. Now, who manages that money? It's the member of parliament through his proxies, through either family members or other people, and he gets money. I tell you for that. I come from Mandela North. I know what CDF is doing and what it's not doing. We need, when 2003 the bill came up, I think it was brought by a member of parliament from central Kenya. It was an idea of someone. Then it gradually became an act, and today we have it. That then was 2003. Today is 2022, we have devolution. So how do we make sure that members of parliament go there to represent, to legislate, and to oversight without necessarily thinking about managing resources? Because the moment you manage 100 million, in this country, then you will relax. Because at a serikali kiringa, you have no problem because there is a certain basket for you, you're going to run around with it. So what needs to happen is this. This country is above the discussions of 2022 or 2037. It's a country where regimes are changing and other reigns are coming to take power. What are we doing to strengthen our institutions? That's why we have this new constitution. What my brother was talking about, going to Jacaranda, it is the politics of the bad politics or the bad manners of our political hygiene. As a member of parliament, he can go to a state function, yes. He can still go to his party leader. So it shows how, the hygiene of our politics is in that you follow the party leader. Because I can tell you, if Jalango does not follow the words of Baba, he will be whipped, and he might not even come back. But if you support Baba and you're always with him, there is the probability of that elitism, tendency in this country. You will come back. Anybody in Nyanza or Western Kenya or his strongholds who has refused to follow his words never came back to parliament.
Okay, but you're painting a picture of how personalities have influence over the management of political affairs in the country. We will be getting down to the policy part of it. Yes, Njeri, please come in.
I was just itching to respond to my good brother here when he says that members of parliament do not know how to do anything else besides, dishing out CDF and NGAF.
That's the main one, yeah.
And that is not the truth. I can tell you for a fact that we lack a system that would directly support, perhaps, let's say, education. And like my good friend Jalango has said, if I show you the messages on my phone from the constituents, and the only person that is within reach to them or closer to power is me. The Minister of Education is not someone that they can reach. The person they know that they elected to represent them is Njeri Maina. If a child does not have school fees, Njeri Maina is called. If a child is unwell, Njeri Maina is called. If, let's say, there's an issue in the community, Njeri Maina is called. And managing resources, that is exercising power. And members of parliament are supposed to legislate, represent, and oversight. And we have been doing that, even without NGAF and NGCDF. I have been on the floor of the House asking questions in regard to rice farmers in Moya, in regard to tea farmers in Kirinyaga, and coffee farmers. I have already taken a bill to the Speaker of the National Assembly, which will impact actually generally across all Kenyans, to amend the Healthcare Act, to ensure that hospitals, public or private, do not hold dead bodies as leverage. So at the end of the day, MPs are working. But we're saying we need NGAF, we need NGCDF, because we are not there as a country.
Okay, before I come to Arnold, just hang on. Before I come to Arnold, Njeri, there's a reason as to why you are being called, you and Felix. It's because you have a mandate from the people. I mean, if healthcare would work, education will work, the infrastructure is state-of-the-art, no one would mind calling you.
Yes, and that is why I've said...
Which then points a picture of all the very wrong things that the political establishment is overlooking or is not paying attention to. How do we course-correct that?
I don't think it's something we can fix overnight. Devolution came with devolved healthcare, right? And you find that all these systems, they're pieces of a puzzle, they're supposed to work together so the jigsaw can work, but some things are falling out. And at the end of the day, the person that is going to be held responsible is me, by my people. The people will not care about the Minister for Health or the Minister for Education. They are going to be demanding that they get answers and immediate solutions from the person they know they elected or voted for. And we have that system where we have a politics of tokenism, and it's something that we have socio-engineered our people to believe that a leader should give immediate solutions to the issues that they're facing. And we have all these things that are not running and working. So it is not something that we can fix overnight, but it's something that we need to work on and realize those...
Which is an admission that the political establishment, 59 years after independence, has been unable to meet the expectations of the people. And President Ruto in South Korea said this is a country at what point we were at par with. Today, South Korea is a powerhouse in the world with its manufacturing ability as to its brands, which are global now. Arnold, in 2013, that is about 9 years ago, John Mbadi, who is a long-term, long-serving member of parliament, questioned as to why members of parliament would sit on a chair worth $3,000 US, about 300,000 Kenya shillings. He questioned why parliament was being revamped at the time to the new standards at the moment, gobbling up millions of shillings. Yet he said this is a money that can ordinarily put up a house for a person in the village. There's something wrong and within the establishment, and how to course correct that. I mean, when will the establishment understand the mood of the public?
I think using John Mbadi's analogy is actually the best way to deal with this particular topic we are dealing with. First of all, the biggest problem, John Mbadi then was in his best element doing oversight. And I will tell you that one of the biggest problems is service delivery. Mheshimiwa here, Mheshimiwa Njeri starts very well. She starts wrong and finishes very well because she even cites out the problem. I would say this, in this country there is this simplistic approach at dealing with problems, that wherever there is a problem, you throw money at it. So that just because they are receiving calls, the best way to do it is to get money and throw money at those particular problems. Do they solve it? No. Now, going back to the Mbadi question, is this, that if Parliament really did its oversight well, a third of our budget would not be going to waste. And that corruption, because that is a question we must talk about. When we talk about sitting on a chair worth, you said $3,000?
300,000 K.
300,
then.
That's about 30K then. So 10 years now, we are talking at about 70 to 100K. Now, has that changed? No, it's not changed. Why is, for example, the SGR not functioning and breaking even? It's because we overpriced it. So whatever much you do about it, it will never break even and it will not make sense. The reason being oversight. Again, I go back and I did not say that Parliament is not working. The quality of this particular Parliament cannot tie the laces of the Parliament, for example, of Martin Shikuku, the Parliament that Orengo actually sat in as a young person. Because number one, these guys have actually ensured that oversight does not work effectively. And oversight, you see, Parliament cannot do proper oversight without the Office of the Auditor General. They have ensured deliberately that the Office of the Auditor General does not have sufficient staff, does not have sufficient tools and resources to ensure that they work and they are up to date. Because this particular Parliament and any Parliament anywhere cannot work. The role of oversight, you can't do that without the Office of the Auditor General. It's not sufficiently resourced.
Okay.
Yet they would have a lot of these things, the SMSs they are getting here, solved if service delivery by the right agencies who are doing that. It's so reactionary to actually go out and say, just because people are calling me, I have to deal with that. Pastors, for example, why are pastors not asking for their own kitty? And they receive all manner of things. My husband beat me, I report to the pastor. And the sheikhs are always getting these things. If they pick that particular approach, then there will be a kitty in charge, specifically to throw it at problems. So, can these guys do their damn job and stop giving excuses? Because their first job is representation. And that representation thing is heavy. It's not as light as... So I'm saying you can be busy doing something, but is that your business?
Thank you.
And by the way, if they were honest, they will tell you. All of them are new. These ones are new because they are age bets. So these guys are new in Parliament. But they know some of those guys in Parliament whose only business of going back to Parliament is not that they do anything meaningful. It's only that they manage CDF very well. So the problem we have with this particular Parliament is that we do not have legislators. We have a lot of CDF managers masquerading as legislators.
Abdullahi, I want to tie it with the question of the independence of the mind of a politician. I mean, when you look at how vocal they ought to be, how they ought to be championing for the interests of the common person, I mean, we are constitutional democracy. Why then the sudden evaporation of that independence when they step in Parliament and just be sharp-hearted and kicking the can down the road and following what the party leader says without questioning the authority of the same and how it's going to serve the people?
Ayub, there is something in this country that you cannot legislate. You cannot legislate good manners. You cannot legislate honesty. You cannot legislate people telling the truth. You cannot legislate people being trustworthy with what they're given. The problem in this country is greed. People value material in this country, a lot of it. Because when you look at parliamentarians, there is that MP from Western Kenya, the young man.
Peter Salasia.
Yeah, Peter Salasia. The first thing he did was to buy a very expensive car. And he doesn't have a house, he's not married.
He has a house.
Well, he said he didn't have a house during the election because we watch Facebook or whatever they say every day that people helped him because he was a very poor person. Jalango here, my friend, I watched his videos when he was struggling and how he got his first job. We all came from humble background. This tendency of wanting big house and current, we all sip the same oxygen in this country. So the problem we have that we cannot legislate that started in 1963 is greed. Now, the issue of politics of personality, where individuals are seen as small demagogues, is that Ruto said this, Baba said this. The country is 53 million. We need to feed people. We need to invest in education. because that is the biggest employer in this country. I mean, if you look at the budget of Treasury, rather TSC, which is the biggest employer, is 296.6 billion out of the 760 billion of our wage bill. Let us invest in education, making sure that primary schools, secondary schools are accessible so that we produce people who are literate, who can work for themselves.
Okay.
Second, invest in manufacturing. Invest, you know, in industries like in northern Kenya. I want to tell the president, he is a Christian, a very overzealous, you know, a person. Who is stealing from Kenyans? 83% of this country are Christians. Who is stealing from them? In northern Kenya, we have Muslim governors. Who is stealing from the Muslim people? I mean, religion has nothing to do with managing resources. If I want to go to the mosque, I will pray alone. That's why I'm taken to the grave alone. My brother will be put in a casket and then he will sleep in his grave alone. Let us not put... Hitler used religion to frustrate his people. The issue of the Bible, he said he put it down. Let it stay there. I will go to the mosque. He will go to church. What we need is the policies, you know, that is put there in government.
Okay.
Must be one long-term, short-term, and then has effect on Kenyans. Otherwise, we are still talking about cost of living.
Well noted. Let's now turn our attention to also the president's two-day tour of the expansive Mulembe Nation. He was